If you're a lady, okay.
That's all I've got.
All right. That's an important caveat. All right, Susie.
I'm Susie. I'm not like Susie could have shared. So the picnic is coming up, our second annual picnic at Hardin Park on September 6th, not this Saturday, next weekend. There's going to be tons of food and fun, 11 to 4, and hamburgers, hot dogs, even a taco bar. Bring desserts.
2 o'clock the speaker.
2 o'clock the speaker. Thank you.
All right. And speaking of desserts, there are cupcakes and brownies over here on the counter if anybody would like one of those. So feel free. And let's see, anything else? All right. Choose one of these statements. Who you see here and what you hear here should stay here. All right, good job. We also discourage crosstalk, but we don't have to worry about that tonight because this is a speaker meeting. So, with all of that, I am honored that I was asked to MC this meeting tonight. And as such an MC, I get the pleasure of introducing our speaker. And I met Jennifer about a year ago, a little over a year, when she came into a certain group in Johnson City, and she was a hot mess. And we became fast friends, and we worked together on the steps, and stayed together for a little while. And then I ended up moving in as her roommate, and she has another wonderful sponsor now who's also in this room. But Jennifer hasn't told her story in quite some time. She's been nervous and excited to share her story with us this evening. So without any further ado, here is Jennifer. It's okay, honey. Yeah.
Hey, family. My name is Jennifer, and I'm alcoholic. Some folks call me J-Boo. My personal pronouns are me, myself, and I. I'm working on you, them, and they. And I am an egomaniac with an inferiority complex. So with that, I have a sponsor. Who has a sponsor? I've been sober for 1 year, 4 months, and 8 days. I've worked all the steps of AA, worked all the steps, and will continue to do so till the day I die. I was formerly known as a crybaby, but I have graduated myself to being emotionally regulating. You know, I thought that sounded a lot better than a crybaby, because crybabies whine and complaining, and I realized I did do that for the first year, but I have the awareness, and I don't want to think about myself all day, every day. It really does get boring. All right, and I actually, my ego does not want me, wants to be an orator, the great orator, and be eloquent. I'm shaking. And speak wonderfully and just share my story with never looking down. And I really didn't want I didn't want one of these. But y'all, I'll walk around looking for my phone, and it's in my hand. I mean, the memory is just not the same, and I know it's from a variety of reasons. So I'll just say I'm a born and bred Texan. I go ahead and start right with the ego. I was born in Dallas and grew up in Gonzales. I came from a good home, y'all. You know, I've heard a lot of stories through the years, and I was very blessed. I was. Now, my mom frequently tells me, and has my whole life, that the doctor said if I was born, it was a really dangerous pregnancy, that I would be born, let me be politically correct, developmentally disabled. And she says that that was the case today. I'm developmentally disabled. You're retarded, y'all. They said that about me. And so I've have, right whenever, okay, there was a young lady, I was in kindergarten, And there were 3 best friends, me, and I guess I can say Angela, and I can say Monica. And this is the birth of my first resentment. This one little girl, we were 3 best friends, 3 musketeers, and that one little girl would go play with Monica and hide it from me and not tell me, and I'd find out. And y'all, I was so resentful. I hated that little girl. I'm only in kindergarten. I hated that little girl. And yes, she was on my 4-step 14 years later. And then I just resented everybody. I mean, it's really, really sad. And just to jump ahead, I had 223 resentments on my first 4-step. Yeah. So I wasn't popular. I didn't fit in. Nobody really liked me. Wham. Just, I didn't fit in anywhere. But I was good in school. I loved adults. Now, adults could carry on a conversation, my parents' friends and stuff. Oh, and I was also the teacher's pet in every one of my classes, so that probably is one of the reasons why I wasn't popular. But just loved reading and in sports, and I was very active and in clubs, and I was like, I was like the perfect child. I was with my parents. Didn't get in trouble. I mean, seriously, just princess. I was so good. But in 8th grade, I got a failing grade on one test in math class and wanted to kill myself. So that was the first time. I made sure I made good grades and ended up with an A. But just the fact that I'm in 8th grade and wanted to kill myself over a grade. All right. My favorite year of my childhood was the year I got out of Gonzales, Texas. And I was an exchange student in the Netherlands. And that was the most wonderful year. I mean, it was wonderful. I got to travel. I got introduced to public speaking the hard way. I would tell stories in front of Rotary clubs in the Netherlands and partially speak it in Dutch. And it was great. And I've always been speaking in front of people. This is different, y'all. But still never drinking, never anything. One of my host families had a big New Year's Eve party. And so, hey, have this, Heineken or have this Grolsch or whatever. And I don't like it. But they're like, well, try the wine. And so I was drinking that wine. I like that wine. Well, and then we have these, white and brown liquors and liqueurs and stuff over here. And I just, I drank it. And then I remember, the last thing I remember before I made it upstairs was, you should try port. So I topped off, I don't know how many beverages. This was like my first time to drink, pretty much, y'all. I remember making it up the stairs, and the room was spinning, and somehow I managed to fall on the bed. Boom, and that was my introduction to alcohol. So I got scared to death. Did not want to blow my senior year. I was doing well academically, and I managed to graduate salutatorian and get a scholarship to Texas Christian University. And I wasn't going to mess that up because I was really scared. So then I go to college. Oh my gosh, y'all. I totally reinvented myself. I was now popular. I learned how to do my makeup and my hair. I was going to be I went by JP. I changed my name from Jennifer to JP, and I was JP until I got divorced in 2010. So I became JP and started drinking, and I was pre-med biology. And my first semester I got 2 B's and 2 D's, and I cheated to get those D's. Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad. I wanted nothing to do with studying because it interfered with boys and drinking. So then, of course, I got involved in some dry goods and quickly switched to psychology because I really wanted to graduate, So I partied through college, y'all. That's what I did in college. I partied. And it was great at first, and then it wasn't. And boyfriends, my whole story is peppered with really sick, sorry bastards. But yeah, and it's pretty recent. So I did manage to graduate. Oh, wait, I want to share this with you. So that first semester, I got joined a sorority. I didn't like those girls, I can tell you that. But I joined a sorority, and at our big formal party, I don't remember anything except for waking up and people were messing with my face because I had blacked out. So I blacked out. I'm a blackout drinker. It's great, And then I remember, like, a couple weeks later, going over to Lambda Chi. There was these Lambda Chis that me and my girlfriend went to hang out with, and they were doing shots. And I was like, man, I'm in on that. It was who could drink the most. I did 13 double shots of Jack and won, and I was a badass. I'm serious. I was the best at something. I was the best, and it felt good because I sure as hell wasn't the best at academics. So, moving on my classy college career, I did manage to graduate, and I did fine. Psychology was fun, and it was pretty easy. I had no place to go and nothing to do. I basically just partied, and everybody was either getting married or getting a job or doing an internship or something, and I had no plans, nothing. So, I started my geographical cure thing, and I sold stuff in my apartment, put it in the back of my car. I was headed to Montana. Car couldn't make it past Denver, and so I got a place in 3 jobs before my ski habit, but I lived in Denver until ski season ended, and broke up with this delightful young man. He was actually probably one of the only good men I've ever dated. I showed him my one-way ticket to Alaska. And that's how I broke up with that guy. And then I flew to Alaska, where my sister was. And we lived, for a little bit we got a house on a little bit, because I had some money left from selling my car, a bed and breakfast. We had that house. But then the money ran out, and we had to go to the cannery, live in our tents, and go to work. So Princess here is now living in a tent, having to hike to a cannery to go to the bathroom, which I only did for number 2. That's a little graphic, sorry. So basically, that was a very depressing thing. I had gone, I was working in a cannery, y'all. Living in a tent. My dad had said, if you don't go to Alaska, I'll pay for any grad school, law school, med school, whatever you want the rest of your life. I ended up paying for graduate school, because he did not. But I had to go do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it, and I had to escape whatever mess I left behind. So in Alaska, I got into a really sick relationship. I moved from my sister and I. We had a good-sized tent. I moved in to Justin and his tiny little 2-man tent with yellow and all the sunlight, so the sun never goes down. And got hooked up with this guy, and he was sick, y'all. He was sick. And I managed to get away from him, and he killed himself a year later. And that's not the only one of those that I've dated. I've dated some real mess-ups. Common denominator. All right, so with $42 in my hand, I take that bus ride down to Texas and move in with my parents. I had $42, and that was it. And I spent it on dry goods. So I tried to live with them and mooch off of them. I did get a job, and I got fired, and it was for a bad attitude, not for all the stealing I was doing from them. I'm a thief. I'm a liar, and I steal. Not today. Not today. So they kicked me out, and I had made a friend. I'll make sure I don't do it. Yeah, I'm good. I met up with a professor from college who I'd befriended and lived with him, and had a major depressive episode, and didn't have access to alcohol because I was broke and all. I did collect unemployment from that job I stole from, but I had that money. And then he said, you need one class to get to graduate school, just one class. And so I took statistics. I was not drinking, aced it, and got into grad school. So hippie here got into graduate school. No shoes, it's all, this is dressed up for me. I was total hippie, like bad. And I got into graduate school, clinical psychology, and it didn't go so well at the beginning. You have to have, C's are failing in graduate school, so I had to get A's and B's, and I was going into finals with a couple of potential C's, but there was a boy I met. I was teaching assistant in an abnormal psychology class, and he was so cute. He looked like Michael J. Fox. And so he asked me out when I was proctoring an exam, and I said yes. He had 5 years sobriety. That's the only thing I didn't like about him. He was sober. Cute, smart. He said he didn't mind the alcohol, but don't do the other stuff. And so I was like, okay, sidewalk men to the man. He did take me to my first AA meeting. It was in December of 1994. It was Triangle. About Candlelight Triangle meeting in Atlanta. It was super cool. It was super cool. And then people were sharing. I loved it. So I had a few incidences happen when I was with him. One of them being at a graduate party at a professor's house, and I said a lot of very inappropriate things. And that was my bottom. I was with this guy, and he's like, you got a problem. And I was like, okay. So, and he did trigger me, because I'm big on defiance like most of us. He said, only addicts can understand addiction. And I'm like, excuse me, I'm in psychology, I'm a graduate student. I know human behavior and the human mind. It's what I do, it's what I know. So that triggered me, but I ended up picking up a white chip January 21st, 1995, and held on to it for 22 years. So, what happened? Yeah. I did a lot of service work when I came in. A lot of service, y'all. Jason loved it. My ex-husband loved it. We gave everybody rides. We hosted meetings when we got a house together. We hosted meetings. Had people living with us. I was immersed in the program. Meetings all the time. I mean, y'all. And I immediately did a flip. I flipped from barely scraping by to getting 4.0s in school. And then there was the AA group, and then there was another group, and the AA group was all smoky and old, and then so we went to the other group, and I was able to be a sponsor really quick. Now, I should have mentioned so I met my ex-husband in November, and got sober in January, and we got married in July. So I did everything I wasn't supposed to do in the first year. And I paid for that, y'all. I really did pay for that. So what was I saying? Just sponsoring people, really it felt good. It really worked. I knew I was at home. I finally felt people who felt like me, felt like they didn't belong. I did worry about my bottom. I thought, I did go. I never went to rehab. And I want to say I never went to jail, but there was that one time I was sleeping in the road, and it was in Oklahoma. I was doing stupid stuff, decided I'd go on an adventure, and next thing you know, I'm in handcuffs, and I'm trying to escape in my bikini, and they throw me in the cell. I'm with my sister, and they throw me in the cell, and they don't tell us when the bondsman came by. They let us sleep it off with a burlap blanket through the night, and I've shared this with a few of y'all, because I'm pretty crazy. I know that y'all don't believe that. But when I got up the next morning and they told us we're going to be here, we had to be here the next afternoon, because that's when the bail bondsman was coming back. I got those bars in that jail, and I jumped up on them, and I just started, and I left that jail knowing I'm now worthy of a Harley Davidson. I'm serious. I'm a badass. Again, I'm a badass. I'm a special badass. All right, so I have been to jail, so I don't get to use that anymore. I wanted to be a college professor. I wanted to get my PhD and work at a small college, maybe in New England or something. But he didn't like a psychology graduate program, so he decided that he wanted to go to med school. I said, I'll give up my dream. I was like, yeah, we'll do what you want to do, because I'm fearful that I won't get in graduate school for a PhD. It's hard, and I was scared. So I joined him in med school, very naive. He'd be studying all night, every night, and I thought he was studying for medical school. I should have known, because his study buddy stripped her way through college, and I just thought that they were just good friends, and this was a pattern that happened over and over and over again. I was very naive, and I still work with that today. I do. But it was a very toxic relationship. It lasted for 15 years. I escaped in 2009. I won't get into details. My sponsors know a little bit. They know. But it was very sick and very dark, and I can't imagine how someone who claimed to have 20 years in sobriety, I had 15 at the time, how could they be so horrible? How could they be so horrible? When I got to escape that relationship, I had nothing except my kids and a little bit of child support. It wasn't enough to pay the bills. My parents helped me out some, but me and the kids, we qualified for Medicaid, food bank, and food stamps, and did all that stuff because he would refuse to divorce me. He said he never would, and then when I said he could keep everything if we could walk, that's how I got away from him. So I started with nothing, y'all. I left. I was in Franklin, North Carolina. I moved to Asheville, and there goes all the lovely things. 7 years worth of things that led to my relapse. I did go to meetings when I first got to Asheville. Didn't get a sponsor. I don't like the women's group. They're a bunch of snobs. I don't really like them at all. I did have a sponsor, a couple of sponsors when I was in Franklin, and I was working a real good program there too, I'll be honest with you. But Asheville, I got busy. After that 1 year, I got a job in pharmaceutical sales, which is what I had done when he was in medical school. And so I was able to raise my kids. And then some, did great. I went, nothing. No 401k, no savings, no checking, nothing. And I was able to take care of those kids, and it was wonderful, y'all. It was wonderful. It was like, F you. You think you can do this to me? It was the greatest resentment of my life. And I didn't deal with it. I was on the biggest pity pot in the world. I would watch movies trying to see if there would be a worse divorce on TV. War of the Roses, maybe not. Sleeping with the Enemy. She got to shoot him. She wins. So it was just the worst thing. And I was a victim. And I always kept that one cheek. I tried to get better and get that cheek back on that pity pot. I just couldn't get off of it, y'all, and I just couldn't. I got too important. I was successful in my job. I was doing too well, and damn, y'all, it's such a same old story, isn't it? Just got away from the meetings. Didn't get a sponsor. Didn't work the steps. Didn't go to meetings. At least if I had my toe in the meetings. I didn't like the meetings. Whatever. Who cares? I relapsed over a man. He was good looking. He loved Montana. I thought that he would be my soulmate because I'm one of those people, little love addicts. And he was going to be the guy for me. Now, he did tell me he was bipolar, but I drank because I romanced it. He drank these fancy wines. He was a doctor. What am I thinking? I've already screwed that up once. But it was just he fancied, and he drank these martinis and cosmos and all this shit. And he finally said, "Oh, you got to try this one. It's so good." 22 years down the drain, I took that sip. And then that Friday, I took that bottle of champagne. And the next thing you know, it's on. But I was successful for a while, y'all. I was successful. I was able to still be at the top of my game for a few years at my job. Everybody thought I was funny and fun, I was a happy drunk. Happy drunk as I'm running from the police in the Venetian Hotel after I flashed people. Just crazy things like that. And a lot of things I don't remember because, like I said, I was a blackout drunk, and people were kind enough to put me to bed. I always had some friends that enabled me. Not great Al-Anons like some of y'all have had, and I'm jealous, but just enough people to help me keep out of trouble. So I did keep out of trouble. My daughter attempted suicide a couple times, so I had to drink through that. I'm cognizant of my time. It got bad, y'all. The drinking was really a bottle or two of wine a night. I became that creepy lady that instead of being all fun and quirky, and I got to be that inappropriate person that made people feel uncomfortable. And the only people that liked me were people who were pretty sick. And it just got, I don't know how I held a job. I just don't, y'all. I still to this day, I don't know. Well, of course, I got fired from my last job, but I don't know how I've held a job through all this. I really don't. And I wouldn't work. I would forge signatures. I was padding expenses. I've got all kinds of stuff, financial amends, yay, that I get to work through. But I did. decide to get the hell out of Asheville and move to Greeneville and be near my parents. Oh, how healthy they are. So I moved here, and they don't even care. They're always traveling, doing their own thing, and it was like I'm just by myself. So what do? I start dating the landscape guy. Y'all, he was my bottom. Yeah, he was I'm going to say narcissistic sociopath con man. Oh, and a lot of, maybe some of y'all's drug dealers back in the day. I went choice, you guys, and the sketchy people in my house, y'all, the sketchy people in my house and doing drugs, and I'm like, oh, and my neighbors, I'm just horrified, and he wouldn't let me break up with him, and he'd try to cut himself, and, you know, he'll kill himself if I break up with him, and it was so bad, y'all. I couldn't get away from me. He threatened to kill my dogs. It was just, And I ended up hiding out. My psychiatrist told me I had to get out. And so I hid, and with my parents, he didn't know where, he thought I was at my girlfriend's. I hid for 6 weeks with my parents, and the police were able to get him out of the home. He was a very sick man, and I'm very grateful the courts have given me a 5-year order of protection. And so I don't have to pack so many guns anymore. But I still do. You know it. So I got the guy out of my life, went back to my home, and just drank. I don't know, that's all I did was drink. I'd maybe go hit an office or two every day or so. Booze. I had to quit my dry goods because I was getting panic attacks, and that sucks. And then I quit the drinking. What the frick, man? Wine, nothing. No buzz, nothing. All right, brown liquors, come on. That's all right. That's gonna do the trick. Nothing. I couldn't get messed up, and I was crazy. I was nuts. I mean, really nuts. I can't even go there because my brain, yeah, it was crazy. So crazy, y'all. I mean, like, woo. Oh. So then my dog dies. I can't handle it. I'm done. I've been contemplating suicide since before I got that guy out of the house. I was like, I just would need it. If I die, I don't have to fool with this guy anymore. I don't have to fool with how miserable I am, how lonely I am. I don't have to fool with any of this stuff. It's funny because one of the only friends there's a few friends, but the only semi-local friend that I have, I did keep that didn't break up with me, and I didn't break up with her. She's actually sitting in this room right now. So I did have the support of one person through all of this, but it was, you know how none of that, nobody can save me. So I'm going to kill myself. I don't want to use a gun. I don't want to somehow live. Messed up my face. I'm too late for that one. And then I was trying to figure out how to make a Kevorkian cocktail on my own, and I just didn't have the access to what I needed to do that. So I was just going to do pills and I guess alcohol, which didn't work for me. But it was done. I was done. I wasn't going back to AA. No way. And I knew I wasn't going back to AA. There's no way I'm going to come in here after 20 years or 22 years of sobriety and pick up a chip. No way. That is, talk about, my ego could not take that. So I was leaning on that suicide. And then I thought about those kids and my surviving dog. And I was like, just go to one. Just go to that one Sunday night, 6 o'clock, a week after Edgar died. And I went, and I cried the whole time. I cried every meeting, I think, for a year, every single meeting. And this lady was there. I sat there, I was all coward and just shaking, the shakes and all that shit when you're not on your alcohol anymore. And I was like, that's the one. And so I go over to her. No, because nobody came up to me, or if they did, I don't remember. Maybe they did, I don't think so. I didn't say anything, and I just hid and cried. And I walked over there and asked if I could call her, and she said yes. And so basically, even though I think it wasn't for a week, I got my sponsor the day I walked in here. After all those years I was in the program, I knew the formula. I know the formula relapse for me, and I know the formula to stay sober for me because I'd seen it over and over again. So I came in here. I got a sponsor immediately. She got me in the steps immediately. I did 90 and 90 immediately. I'm still 7 for 7 every single week since I've been sober. Because I don't have another relapse in me. Oh my Lord, I don't want to come in here again and do this. I mean, January 21st of this year, I picked up a 9-month chip. There's my ego going. It should have been a 30-year chip. So it's really hard, and I don't tell a lot of folks that, but I need to. I've been told, because long-term sobriety, we can relapse, and it was pretty clear. I didn't work the program. I didn't work the steps. And speaking of the steps, my sponsor said, I remember one time I hurt my feelings. She said, I'm here to work the steps with you, and if you're not working the steps, you don't need a sponsor. I don't know if you remember saying that, but I was like, well, we're going to just work the steps then, you know? And you're not going to leave me. You're not going anywhere. I'm going to work the steps and gotcha. So step 1 was honesty. The principle was honesty. I did admit I was horrifically powerless over alcohol, and my life was horrifically unmanageable. I think I qualify that my life was unmanageable because I wanted to end that life, and that's pretty unmanageable to me. I did admit complete defeat. I did hit the lowest bottom I think for me I can go, and I was willing to go to any lengths. That was different this time. I was willing to go to any lengths, and it was a lot of work, you guys. Step 2 gave me some hope. I knew that I had to have a power greater than myself. I wasn't working, and these men that I was in love with weren't working either. Yeah. So, and it does mention about defiance is an outstanding characteristic of alcoholics, and I still struggle with defiance today. But step 3, faith and surrender. That sponsor also helped me with my higher power, who I do choose to call God. I did not want anybody else's higher power. Nobody. Nope. I did not like the stuff I grew up with. Nothing ever resonated with me. It just didn't seem, I don't know. Nothing ever resonated with me. But finally, because I wanted me to resonate with me and be my own higher power. And now that I knew that wasn't possible, and there was always that little piece of me. I remember back when I was the prior sobriety, I would say, it's better to believe in God and find out He doesn't exist than to not believe in God and find out He does. And that was a little bit fear-based for me, but it kept me at least kind of believing there was a God. But my sponsor said, because she knew I was having these struggles with higher power, and I wanted to be on a spiritual path, she said, why don't you make a list? Make a list of all the things that you would like out of a perfect parent. And so I did that list, and it had a lot of wonderful things, kind, compassionate, loving, funny, just a lot of wonder. I mean, the list is long. I mean, it's long. And she said, why don't you let that be your higher power? And I said, yes, I like that. And from that, I have grown a magnificent relationship with the higher power. It has grown. It is my higher power. It is different from everybody else's. And I don't know, we're pretty funny. We're tight. We were talking in there in the bathroom a while ago, and I said, we were like, let's go have some fun. Just go have some fun and just share my story. And it doesn't have to be perfect, or I don't know. But I've learned how to turn things over to my higher power. Not everything, but I'm working on it. Step 4. Like you heard before, my first 4 step had 223 resentments. So I was excited. I'm a weirdo too. I love doing the 4-step. First time, I loved it. This time, a couple of times in between, I love doing it. I love writing down all my resentments. What I didn't know the first time I did it with the 223, what I didn't realize is that, you got those other columns. Was that one column says, what's your part? Oh my Lord, I had to do 223, what's my part? And there was like, judgmental. judgmental, too high expectations, oh, it was so bad. And I was like, I got like really upset. I mean, I was psycho-aware, but I was like, oh my God, I am really a judgmental, ugh. I don't want to be like that. So I fortunately did learn, and I did well with that awareness. But that when I relapsed, that awareness went away. It was taken from me, and I really did. All I cared about was me, myself, and I, and what I needed to do to get what I wanted, however I wanted. And I manipulated pretty much everybody I came across. I was in a career that was very toxic, and well, I'll get to that in a second. So I did my 4-step. This time it only had, I believe it was 42 resentments, which was awesome. I was happy to share that with my sponsor. Did not like when she said, "What's the biggest secret you've ever had in your life?" Did not like that. But I shared it. And then all the other ones weren't so bad, talking about it. And I know I was pretty wacky, y'all. We did that 4-step, and then I said, we got to get together. We missed a bunch of people. We didn't talk about them. Why didn't we talk about them? We didn't do it. And she was like, all right, well, let's do them. Let's meet again. And then we're going over them, and it was like, oh, we did do all of these. I was a mess. I was doing the best I could. But I had the willingness. So moving on to step 6, I had the willingness to do whatever it takes. And a lot of it was just the willingness to be willing, because that humility part of step 7, I want God to remove all my shortcomings. Maybe, not a couple of them over here because they're fun, or they're clever or whatever. But no, I don't want to be a Pollyanna. I want to still be fun and dangerous, and off the cuff. And sometimes that offends people. I have to think twice about sometimes when I speak, maybe just not speak or think at all. So step 8 talks about love. And my big obstacle there was the reluctance to forgive. A purposeful forgiving and non-admission of wrongs to others. So step 8, it says here, is the beginning of the end of isolation, bringing me to step 9. All right, this was hard, you guys. My biggest resentments were to my immediate family. Both my sisters cut me off the last year I was drinking, and my parents cut me off a week after I got sober. How dare they? Who friggin' cuts you off after you get sober? Like, I'm trying to change. I want to get better. I'm sharing this in Al-Anon. They're like, yeah, it makes total sense. Do they drink? Yeah. Well, you're getting healthy. You're taking care of yourself. You're getting better. They don't want to see that. But I had a part. I had that dadgum part, y'all. So I had to make amends. And it took a long time. It did. I never thought it would take as long as it did. I didn't. I couldn't do it. And then I had to scooch back to earlier steps. They're like, what's going on? All right, I got to talk to my higher power about this. I'd do that sick man's prayer day after day after day. And it wasn't for the 14 days that's in the stories in the back of the book. It was months and months I had to do this sick prayer for my family and for the ex-boyfriend. Y'all, I just finally reached out to make that final family amends a couple weeks ago. I've made the amends with both my parents and my older sister. And the relationship will never be the same again. Maybe that's a good thing. But my little sister is married to someone who demands an amends from me. And that hits the defiance harder than anything, because nobody tells me to make an amends to anybody. How's that working for me? So I have that little part in that. I do have a little part in basically accusing the guy of roofing me. But I've reached out and haven't heard back. And my parents say she needs time. Well, I have to let it go. I want to wrap up all my little amends, except for that financial stuff. And I've done what I can. I've done what I can for now. Okay? And if I don't hear anything, I'll try again in a few months. Okay? Or sooner if my sponsor says so. All right, so that leads me to, and all that thieving and stuff I did. I don't steal, lie so much and cheat on a daily basis. So I'd make a living amends to some of these, and I do other things with the financial amends. I was quite the thief, you guys. Yeah, I should be, never mind, I'm not going to say that. All right, so here we get to step 10, and making this a habit, having discipline and perseverance. I love the fact that we have step 10, so that I can just go ahead and nip that alcoholic behavior and those terrible character defects, and make an apology then and there. And I don't really want to do that. I really don't want to go around making amends to people. I don't. I will, but it's not on top of my list. So I just try to not be a jerk and not have to do it. And I had to do one like earlier this week. And I just learn, and I have awareness, and it's getting better. But I've got to do this daily. I've got to review my character defects and replace them with assets and pray to God. I'm always praying to God to help me and to do His will, not mine. So I love step 10. Keeps me in the solution. Step 11 is my favorite step. That's prayer and meditation. And the prayer part is so much easier now than it was a year ago. I've got such a great friendship and companion, and all the father, mother, just a relationship with my higher power today, and it's great because we are really good friends, and my higher power is transcendent, so I can't describe anything. I just can describe it as wonderful and loving, and it works for me today. It really does. Meditation, I've always been into meditation. I've been a part of groups and ashrams and done all sorts of things with meditation. I love, many spiritual teachers that, incorporate meditation into their practices. And I've learned a lot through the years. And so being still, being aware without thought, unless my higher power channels something from me. I don't have to play tapes. I still do. I had to pray just another. I was about a man. The tape was spinning, and I prayed, God, please help me with this tape. Please help me. And I had a little relief. And then boom, 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 and I prayed again, and it was gone. And I haven't had a problem with that anymore. Speaking of men, I'm going to tell you what. Best thing I did was take some advice that most of us don't do. I took the advice. I went on a 1-year man ban. So for 1 year, no relationship, no dating, no flirting. Oh, yeah. It was all about me. This recovery was for me to work on, me and my higher power. But I had to start with me. I had to get to me to get to him. So it was, I had no idea how awesome it is to be single. No offense to you married folks, but it's been wonderful. I was the person that always melded into the chameleon. Whatever they were, I became. And I went from Texas, and I should love country music. I can't stand country music. But boy, I loved it. If you loved it, and I'd listen to it all the time, and on Spotify, and I'm never doing that again, y'all. I'm never going to meld myself. I like classical music and 80s music. And I don't know, the way I changed to make me more desirable to a man is really sad. And this year has given me the opportunity to look at that and to grow in discernment and to grow in boundaries. I read red flags now. It's kind of funny. I can see them. I can share about them. I love it when my sponsor, my last sponsor, say, "You did a great job," seeing that and being aware of that. And I was like, yes, I'm having some progress. The final one is step 12, service. I'm going to myself in 1 minute. I couldn't wait to do service work. I love it. I loved it before, and I love it now. I believe I needed 1 year sobriety and working all 12 of the steps before I became a sponsor. And I've been blessed to work with several ladies who mean the world to me, and I do anything for them, well, within reason. I love the ladies at the jail. I really love working with the ladies at the jail. I love the meetings. I love my family, my AA family. I love my AA ladies. I love them so much. They're so good to me, and they make me want to be good to everybody. And they're wonderful role models, so I really want to thank, this is an amazing program. All I can do is be a role model. I would love for everybody to have this AA program. But all I can do is do it to the best of my ability and have compassion and kindness for everybody, each and every person I come across, every single day. That makes me feel good. It gives me purpose. And I guess I'm getting nervous because I'm playing with this book, so I'm actually petting it. This is the real deal, you guys. I'm so blessed. It's crazy. And I'm blessed I got fired from my job recently. I was working for really bad people, and they tried to force me to quit. And I said, no, but then you're fired. I said, yay. So, I want to wrap it up with that. I want to thank my higher power for letting me be here today and stand before you as your humble servant. I think that's all I got.